And
What
it always
band?
makes you wonder, why couldn't the Beatles have kept on recording together and just putting out solo albums? They couldn't stand each other, I guess, is the reason. But can you imagine if they had just
Well,
toured
I
together
think.
in the 70s? If they had toured together
Oh
in the
my
70s with
God.
Billy Preston and put out their own solo records and just done a few live dates a year, how different the world would be now.
Yes, it pains me to admit that I'm old enough to remember that that could be a great thing. There used to be fanzines that they would write about the Beatles getting back together. I've got a few of those from the 70s, and there was one where Paul McCartney was sick, but he came on stage and they wrote this whole fictional narrative of, Paul getting on stage, and every Beatle fan who's in their teens at that time is going, "Oh my God, I hope this could happen." But it was that was a nutty time. And the thing is they did put out. I always thought it was more had to do with who was managing John than I think he. And we don't have to. I'm not here to
I
poke.
mean, I don't think any of them wanted to work with Paul by the end of the
Oh, well,
Get
that's
Back
yeah.
sessions, and I think Paul needed to. They all needed. It was very painful for all of them. I mean, you watch that movie, and they still loved each other, but they had to. But even then, that changed everything. The breakup didn't kill their careers. The breakup multiplied their careers.
I would love to have seen them, but like you said, together. And the one that I think of when I think of John and Paul together would be on anything on John Lennon and Yoko Ono, but on Plastic Ono Band. Um, Remember, Look at Me, or even God. But I can hear Paul's in God. I can almost hear Paul in my ear singing the harmonies to that.
It's fun for the 70s to like look at all the playlists that exist out there people have made for, oh, this would have been the Beatles in 1971, and having, a few George tracks, or a few Ringo tracks, a few Paul
Yeah,
tracks, and it's a real fun rabbit hole to go down and imagine
I
like
think I've seen
what
that
if this had
on
happened.
or I've heard it on Sirius XM. I think on the Beatles channel. Didn't they
Right
do
on.
something like that?
They may
I,
have. It would make sense to.
it would, yeah. So all right, so they put out first, and then Paul came out. I mean, Wildlife, I think, right, was, and then after that, that was an all right album to me. But the one I liked next was Ram. That came
I think the first, well, McCartney's first solo
was
album
McCartney.
was McCartney. Then I think
Yeah,
Ram came second. He did two solo albums before he formed Wings.
I think you're right. I think I
And
made
then
it
he never toured solo until 1989.
right.
His
Well,
but
I
he
saw
his
Wings Over America in '75.
that must have been amazing. What an
Cincinnati.
album. What a live album.
Yeah, it was a great. Yeah, I loved it, and I did not get to see John live. I've seen Ringo and Paul, and not George.
I got to see George at the Bob Dylan tribute show in 1992, which was the last time he played on stage in America. And of course, I got to see George when I put a guitar in his hands on a VH1 studio and he played four songs, which was his last public performance. I've seen Paul many times. It's amazing how Paul, since COVID, has revitalized his band and his set list by adding a three-piece horn section. Like,
Yeah,
if you'd seen McCartney before, you got to try to go again if he comes back to the States, because I found there were songs I never cared about that so came alive in his 80s because he added a three-piece horn section. He just found a way to make it all.
such
I mean,
as
his voice is thin now. I would think I don't need to see Lady Madonna again. I don't ever
yeah.
need to hear Let Him In.
I
And
didn't
I
want to hear
always,
it when I heard it the first
yeah,
time.
same here. And like I never thought, I always thought, okay, I appreciate Letting Go, but when you hear Letting Go with a horn section, it is the filthiest, most dramatic, gorgeous thing you've ever heard, and it feels
Really?
like, wow, I'm in the 70s. I should have grown a mustache for this. Yeah, like McCartney adding a three-piece horn section, which he did when he was just about to turn 80. And I think his voice is very thin now. It's not as strong as it was, and he has a lot of little tricks he does to enhance the experience. And this is a really positive one. I will go to see McCartney again if he ever comes anywhere near me, because I feel like he's revitalized the whole set list, in addition to
I'm
having a
in.
great set list.